I'm upset. Stop making that noise in my ear.
What noise?
The computer noise. Like you kept pressing keys and it was making a noise.
It's recording, by the way.
I hear it, but Jumbo, you gotta exit the studio.
Get out of here, Jumbo.
Kevin has left the game.
Our intro is rolling right now.
Ooh.
It's just every time you press that button, I hear the bling noise.
There's a bling noise?
Switch to Rob. Switch to
Uh-oh.
Rob. Switch to Rob right now. Oh, I didn't hear it that time. Just kidding. But every time you did it, it was doing it.
Okay.
I just want to put
Is
you
it
on notice.
It's gone. Look at what Sabrina bought us.
Can you see it? The
Yeah.
lighting's too harsh.
No, it's good. Rob doesn't get one.
Oh, Rob, sorry.
Rob is back.
I don't even
have
get
to.
any liquid whatsoever to drink.
You don't?
Let me just
know.
sip on this real quick. Let me just.
We're actually out of waters right now. I hate to that's
Cheers,
bad of us.
everybody. Cheers. I'm
Should I
taking
use
it.
mine with my Monster or no?
No.
I might.
Don't disgrace us by putting Monster inside of your cup.
It's empty.
Nice.
We have our special guest, Rob, on the podcast today. Now, this is the second guest.
It's my first time, the second time.
This is the first recurring guest, is what I should have said.
Not only was I one of the very first guests
No.
to begin with,
It's true.
Yes,
I'm also
that's true.
the first repeat guest.
This is true.
Oh,
That says something.
I feel special.
Actually, I think you were one of our most viewed videos as well.
That makes
This
sense.
was back in the...
That makes sense.
This,
I mean,
You are
whatever.
such
It's
a
the
judge.
dimples. It's the
No,
dimples.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
he's a handsome boy. We got our handsome boy back.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I think last time we had Rob on the podcast, we talked about the vehicle virgins.
We did. We did.
I remember that.
Let's not bring up bad memes.
No, it's not a bad meme. It's all.
No,
I mean,
it's all
we
under
watched
water
the
under the
video.
bridge.
Do you guys talk?
Haven't talked to him since.
That's
And
a long
if
time
anything,
ago.
I think that I see him, and respect.
Sure, no.
He's hustling, doing his thing.
Fair enough.
But
Good on him.
I'm sure I wasn't exactly the best influence on his channel, so I
Sure.
can understand why he wouldn't want to talk to me.
Yeah, we've all had incidents, Rob. We've all been there.
I've heard.
Except
I've
for
only
you.
had good experiences.
Except
with Rob.
you.
Yeah, Calvin, you need some more drama in your life.
Nah,
You do.
I
We
don't.
should stir it up.
Don't stir my pot.
Who could we pick beef with for you?
Don't
No,
stir
no.
my
The
pot.
trick is if you own a rotary, beef follows you.
True.
Oh, jeez.
So
So
geez.
true.
we need to pick him out a car.
I'm not doing a rotary build yet.
We've been talking about it.
We're talking about it. Oh,
We've
that's
been
what we're. Speaking of segways,
Good
rotaries.
segue.
Boom.
For those who are not currently up to date with all of Rob's daily doings, he has quite a handful
Daily
of projects.
doings. That's
Daily
that's
doings.
Yeah,
term.
that's daily.
It's daily
That's a-
doings.
That's a term.
Yeah.
We'll link his channel down below. Check it out, all of his socials, if you want to do more personal research on who he is. But I would say if you had to pinpoint on YouTube the Rotary Man, the Rotary channel, I would say that hat would have to go to Rob for sure.
Boom.
Um,
Damn, that's an accolade.
so that's
that means a lot.
yeah, that's
an
just
accolade.
Yeah.
opening the floodgates to Rob right now. That's very much, I think, your jam. Is that the
Yeah.
right terminology?
Cult
what are you?
obsession.
What are
Yeah.
you? 90 years old?
Me?
Jam.
Your jam. Your bees.
It's
I
a
don't know.
shiznick.
It's your thing. It's one of Rob's things.
It's
And
the thing.
one of his current builds I'm currently obsessed with is his 4-rotor, which has
Is
been
doing-
a fucking process.
It has been.
That is, I would argue, one of Rob's most followed things ever, maybe.
Oh, by far, and it's because of how it came to be. So there's a lot of anticipation and hype, and at least in the last couple steps, I've delivered more than what was expected.
Explain what it is from the start. Like, if I don't know anything,
Oh, I have a lot of questions. Are we talking about questions about rotaries?
well, I have a lot of those, but I kind of want to dive into the 4-rotor a little bit
okay.
because
As much as he's willing to speak.
Well,
of.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't spill
Classified
everything.
memes.
No, I got to show you guys some things that
Yeah.
are hot off the press.
Yeah.
But and the reason why it's so good to even be here now is because there is massive progress on it. So all the memes about me not finishing it or being vaporware, it's kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's a
yeah.
little bit of that.
Absolutely.
And so it's been a massive undertaking. But I think because of how ambitious the car is, the goal is to make something that isn't just a straight line vehicle. It's meant to make a car on every type of steroid and male enhancement drug possible.
Yeah.
I think that resonates with a lot of people, even not just rotary guys. Somebody's saying, holy shit, this guy's going to push this thing in every different direction. Both physically me pushing it, which is a lot of my memes, and actually pushing boundaries. So I think that's what captivates people is what I'm trying to accomplish.
I think it's there are a lot of crazy builds out there, but you documenting your, it's basically you are engineering a whole, like, not race car is too light of a term.
Yeah.
Too light of a term, because I think from the ground up, you did a lot of research, you did a lot of engineering, you did a lot of CAD, you did a lot of all of this stuff, which I would love to ask questions about, and I do all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I think I honestly don't have words to describe what you're making. This is like something that I think about and don't have the balls to bring to fruition.
So that's probably, I think, what the nerve I've struck is every single person that gets into cars has a brief moment where they go, I could do this. I could make something from the ground up. You get that dream before you start getting into the minutia, before you start getting into the details of every single horrible car problem that you can have. The idea is that I could potentially build this. Once you understand something, that like 10,000 foot view of understanding that how an engine works, you're like, I could create an engine. You have that inspiration to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I held on to. I never compromised my original vision, is that there are a lot of reasons why I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Number one, people like Rob Freddy, who's a good friend of mine, it's like you're spending way too much money on something that won't get a return. Well, yeah, if I looked at my numbers, of course, but that's not why I'm doing it. There's so many adult reasons why this car shouldn't be built, and that's why I love it. It's just raw.
How long have you been building it? Like in like from like beginning thoughts,
yes,
to like starting it to like to right now? How?
So there's been 3 years of solid 4-rotor work, 2 years of actual building. So what happened was 3 years ago, I was at 7 Stock, big rotary event.
We're going after SEMA this year.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll film the 3-year anniversary of that, and that was where I met Abel at
okay.
And there was a guy online who I used to look up to as a rotary guy, old school guy, not the internet age.
Yeah. And
when he found out about me doing my 3-rotor stuff, he said some very cruel things to me that were able to get under my skin so much that that next day I bought the core to my 4-rotor from New Zealand. And so that was a very emotionally driven decision. At that point, though, I have this 3-rotor that has 1,000 horsepower to the wheels. No roll bar, no nothing, stock chassis. Suicidal car. And I'm like, it is foolish to put any more power into that car. You're not going to be able to put it down under, I think I'd say 80 miles an hour. Right now, under 80, I'm limiting how much power I can put down.
So are you on like boost by gear or something?
Boost by gear, all, so it's like, okay, so I already have too much power. So the next logical thing was, after a horrible defeating loss to my brother in his GTR, all-wheel drive. I'm like, holy crap, that's the thing. More wheels, putting more power down, especially on the street. And so I didn't tell the public that at all. And so the two major things that made the build more mainstream than I was expecting was, one, the parts of that vehicle were lost in transit from New Zealand to here.
That's where that
That's all tied together.
That was 4-rotor days.
Mm-hmm.
When was it? UPS. Fed one.
I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I think there's agreements signed that
I was gonna
fog my
say,
memory.
Yeah.
But
yeah, sorry.
But
Rob's got a nice meat. So.
But so that being lost in transit.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. I remember that. Feels like so long ago.
It's a whole different lifetime ago.
Wow.
And so the problem was that made such a major impact on everybody's like, oh, well, Rob's doing this build. Let's see what it's all about. Yeah. And so it put a lot of pressure on me to bring something new to the table. Mm-hmm. And I had some people nipping at my heels who literally copied what I was doing publicly, what I said I was going to do with my 4-rotor, which was just simply drop it in an RX7 and make it an ungodly stock body RX7. Somebody went and tried copying that and then tried beating me to the punch, not knowing that I was going full tube chassis, all-wheel drive. And so 2 years ago, as of now, at SEMA, when I dropped, I was able to keep my mouth shut. I don't know how I did that, but I was able to keep my mouth shut that it was going to go all-wheel drive. And so when that dropped, that was one of the biggest impact SEMA rated it as one of the top 3 builds.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of...
And it was there at SEMA, like, and this is like very unconditional to SEMA.
Well, one thing, there's an iconic picture of Rob that like went crazy, is him standing over his chassis, and it's sitting at SEMA in painted gray. Do you remember that photo? That's what I think of when I think of Rob's RX7 4-rotor.
I was gonna say you had it at SEMA, not even running, working, and it being SEMA to stretch the I don't know that word.
Hyperbole?
No, just to like usually people don't bring a car to SEMA if it's not done. Like you don't see unfinished cars at SEMA. And then to see your car there, and everyone was like, fuck, that's dope.
That's
I don't even care.
Yeah.
It's controversial, but it was even at Garrett's, like front row at Garrett, which is like a very popular like stop at SEMA. It definitely made some waves.
It was a very prestigious spot to be at.
Yeah.
And Garrett took the biggest chance on me because, so right now we're about a week away from SEMA.
Mm-hmm. No,
9 days.
Are we? We're a week away from SEMA.
It's close. It's coming up.
You're right. We're about a week away from when you have to drop your car off.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And so here's the crazy part. Imagine we're 2 years ago. A week ago, my RX-7 was still running as a 2-rotor stock-bodied car. We got that car built to the point that you saw back in 2016 SEMA in 2 weeks.
Jeez.
So
wow.
So I think the problem with that is that people saw me blow whatever that was, $100,000 in work in 2 weeks, and expected me to continue that burn rate.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
And
not gonna happen.
there were a lot of... I did that with the anticipation of sponsors or something else, and as you can see, the car doesn't have any sponsors on the body. So, that was heavily funded by me, and then a lot of other companies like Garrett helping, in ways that are, just so helpful to a person like me.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I brought an unrunning car to SEMA and made no qualms about it, I was like, hey, this is a proof of concept. People who didn't know me didn't know I was saying it was a proof of concept, but I was just showing that here is an all-wheel drive proof of concept that I can do it. And that amongst the older generation was like, oh, you can't bring a non-running car.
Yeah.
That made even more publicity for the car. And so, it's weird because, I'll have the people that come up to me that know me or recognize me from YouTube, but then I'll have people where I'll start talking to them and they're like, you're the guy with that 4-rotor, the all-wheel drive thing, that they know the car almost more than me. And I love that car was so unique enough, and you can be unique without being useful, but this was so unique enough and had such a purpose that it stuck with people.
I find interesting your choice of doing the all-wheel drive is in video games you can easily convert a car to all-wheel drive and you get instant like response, and I'm like, I sat there one day like, how does someone actually do that? And seeing your build shed some light and how actually ridiculous the design has to be for that to work.
It is for example, I'll even tell you, today we were dealing with the fact that one of my differentials, something that takes the power from the center and then puts it to both wheels, had to be flipped upside down. And so flip it upside down. That sounds like a very simple thing. Well, when you flip something like that upside down, the gears now contact backwards, so the front differential now is basically in its mind going in reverse. Like when you put a rear differential in reverse, you only go 30 miles an hour at most backwards. And so so now this thing is going to wear incorrectly because it's backwards, so it's going to have a harder time putting power down. And so there's things that you don't even think about that are like, I could flip that upside down to get the wheels to spin the right, you're in your mind, you're like, okay, this spins this way, the engine spins this way, the transmission, and the front wheels need to go this way.
Nope.
I had a brief moment where I had set it up, and if you were to actually finish the car that way, the front wheels would have turned backwards and the rear wheels would have turned forwards, so the car would have locked against stuff. And so you have weird, like just weird
cool
stuff like that. It would,
that'd been cool.
Rock crawler or something weird.
Damn.
But there's so much engineering. Thankfully, I have people that are experts in their field that are so excited to see me make this happen that they're helping in ways that not money can't buy.
Yeah.
They're looking at go, why don't you do this? Or I used to do this, and I'd recommend that. I'm like, oh my God,
I didn't think of that.
I wouldn't even know, 'cause, until you build the car, You wouldn't even know. And I have to say, even the guys from Hoonigan that helped with giving me, this part of the suspensions based off of the Hoonicorn, those guys getting involved, they fed me enough to where then I took it and went my own way, and that caused a lot of problems, but also caused a lot of solutions that differentiate the build so much. I do hope that I was briefly telling you guys earlier. I do hope that it comes through that Ken Block does drive this car, compares it to the Hoonicorn, because they're going to be radically different. Power levels, everything. Mine's meant to stick, his meant to drift. So there's a considerable difference, but a lot of suspension similarities.
Do you know what number you're aiming for power-wise?
Yes. There's some very simple big numbers I'm aiming for. I'm hoping. The engine itself has been a delay for quite a while. It was supposed to be done, honestly, more than a year ago, and that has been outside of my control. I'm hoping, and we're going to dyno the engine separately. It's not unreasonable to look for a 2,000 horsepower at the crank. That's pretty much.
Wait, I wasn't listening.
Yeah,
what
let
did
me
you
back
say?
up. Let me back up. 2000
So
HP.
Going through the new drivetrain, what do you think? I don't know if it going all-wheel drive, what do you think it hits to the wheel then?
Yeah, so I'll be happy if I see 1,400 at the wheels at that level.
That's how much loss?
I don't know. Because
okay.
I'm using components that are so beefy and have so much mass that they will take some energy.
Yeah.
To
No,
rotate,
absolutely.
But at the same time, I'll be able to drop the clutch. So I don't know. I'm sure if you go to like an R32 GTR guy, and if they've dynoed their engine and then put it into the thing, you have some similarity.
And see, that's where I posed another question more like, okay, well that, like you go to like something with an all-wheel drive system like a WRX or whatever, those are like been designed over years and years to get that shit to work. And it's like, in that happening, did they find a way to reduce the loss from crank to wheel? Whereas there's your build, which is like 3 years mainly done by you, not a big
testing.
engineering team without testing.
Right.
Are you gonna find like it makes me question? I'm like, I wonder how much loss you
gonna
will get.
be
Is it gonna be
fun.
similar to any like a GTR's loss, or is it gonna be
5 miles an hour?
it's just I'm just so curious to find out.
Excuse me. I do suspect that I over-engineered the car. That
And
in which way?
The feature creep. That's
I've avoided feature creep.
Oh, you avoided.
I'm very. I come from the computer IT project management background, so I'm so obsessed with feature creep, meaning increased expense.
Yeah.
And
I see.
So
okay.
I'm very particular about that.
Okay.
But what I have done is said, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, if I'm gonna make a rear wheel stub, it's going to be the beefiest rear wheel stub you've got, because I do not want that to be the weakest point. Because the other major number about this whole thing is that I'm engineering this to do 300 miles an hour.
Whoa, you can't be dropping bombs like that, Rob.
Yeah.
Wow.
So aren't many people that have been there.
What?
Oh, dude, I cannot.
Stop. Yeah, wait.
Fucking
Stop.
wait,
Stop for a
dude.
second.
Yeah.
What is the new Veyron top speed?
I can't speak of the Veyron or the the Chiron. Chiron,
Yeah, whatever the fuck it's called.
But
like that.
I know some of the precedent set is, for example, the Koenigsegg, the RS.
They're like
Yeah.
three something. 304.
Well, 270
No way.
on street, and this comes as no surprise that they did it in partnership with Michelin, and oddly enough, surprisingly, I'm using Michelin's on my car. So Michelin's been actually a big partner in helping with that, because they've got experience with that. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'll tell you this right now, is that there is a number that is burned into my skull that I have to beat. It is 242.3 miles per hour. That is the fastest
Seems
rotary
specific.
engine in Bonneville Salt Flats. That was commissioned by Mazda. It's Mazda's car. So if I can beat that number,
You beat
that's
Mazda.
like the old gentleman's race. That's not a modern thing. Half mile's more modern, but that is like the old school. Prestigious. I beat the corporation themselves in their own top speed.
Now,
Rob, that's crazy.
another
bro.
question.
fucking crazy.
Are you going to be the one doing the driving?
Okay, so my mom won't end up watching this
Yeah.
because she doesn't know that I'm going to be on a podcast. But as far as she knows, no, I'm not the one driving it. But for the rest of the world, I definitely want to do
be
250 myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
250.
So the car's geared. The car's currently geared to do 255 with the current transmission, current rear differential ratio.
That's a lot of math.
Yeah, tire size, all that sort of stuff. Now, one of the things that are overbuilt that will rob power, and I can tell you right now it's about 5% power loss, is my rear differential is called a quick change differential. So if you see it in the very back,
drift cars.
drift cars have it. Yeah,
It's like a big. It's like a big. It's
block,
heavy.
the big block in the back.
Yeah. Exactly. And so what happens is that's an extra set of gears. And generally when you're running another set of power through another set of gears, those gears have friction. That friction turns into heat. That heat is your power loss.
Yeah.
And so what that lets you do, though, is re-gear the car quickly changing your gear ratios.
Pull off the back plate, stick into, or flip the gears.
Yep, flip the gears if depending on how you're gonna re-gear it. So that is already a 5% loss, but the benefit is so great that I'm tuning the car. I don't know what my gear ratio is going to be best at. I don't know where the power band's going to be. I can fix it. So that sort of stuff is where it's like, okay, yes, I am going to lose power, but I also have ability to tweak.
My question to you then is, so you chose, because when you're designing something, you could either choose specific or serviceable.
Yes.
And it's very hard to marry the two, and when you do, there's a huge compromise. So my question is to you, why are there other diffs out there that can handle that sort of power and not be as customizable with less power loss? Why did you choose this one specifically?
I fought tooth and nail not to put that diff in there. I said no repeatedly, but I was convinced by people that had good opinions to go to it. And then when I was told that, these drift guys use it, I'm like, okay, well, the very least, I want to have the engine, the clutch, the transmission, the rear drive shaft, and the whole rear be solid. I could blow the front diff to pieces. I can blow the front drive shaft to pieces. I can still maintain the car with rear wheel drive. Yeah. So I at that point, I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to be able to maintain power without compromise.
You only need the front for the launch, and then you can take the rear wheels to the end.
You can also use the front to your advantage throughout the whole thing, but so for example, say you start loading your car up with power and you lose power even in the rear, you can unsettle that car and cause yourself to crash.
Yeah.
So that I start getting to this point where I'm like, okay, that diff isn't just quick change, it's a 10-inch massive ring geared, the 3-rotor has an 8.8 inch rear end. And so an 8.8 can handle almost all the power, I think, out of the 4-rotor. I'll be honest, I personally think that it'll be pushing it and you might have to rebuild it, but a lot less power loss. Okay. I'm going to drop the shit out of that clutch. I'm just gonna it's a 4-plate clutch, carbon ceramic.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of such a thing.
You're gonna see slow motion, Fast and Furious, clink, 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 clink.
Yeah.
It's gonna just crush down. And
oh man.
And so for example, the difference between my car and the Unicorn, this is something I'm engineered, I've obsessed about for so long, is I rebuilt the whole rear end to handle 335s in the rear. The stock Unicorn can only handle 10.5, which is 295. So I've got an extra about 3 inches of tread on the rear. Not only is it a wider tire, it's also a more narrow wheel, so I can put more rubber on it.
Okay.
The Unicorn can handle an 18-inch rim.
Okay.
Where this will be a 17-inch, so I could have a 17-inch like drag radial, basically pencil eraser type soft material, and I don't know what that's going to do, But again, that's why that rear differential has to be that insane. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. There's a lot of thought.
How do you?
I have so many questions. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Are you gonna build your way up to that?
Yes.
So you're gonna do like a 150, 180, 190 to just keep running it.
Just like with the YouTube game, is you don't just put your ace down first, because then there's no suspense, there's no build up, and you're not recording the turmoil that's going on in real life. You can't really record that. So what I want to do, very first step, is I currently hold the record for the half mile with rotaries.
Mm-hmm.
It's 181.
All right.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, Rob.
Which coincidentally, by the way, the P1 that's coming here did 180. You know, does 180 in the half
Whoa.
mile. So
Wow.
and
Whoa.
that was
Accolade winning.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this man's
Yeah.
famous.
And
Damn, that's fucking. That's crazy to think about.
yeah, and that was me limiting the power from 1,000 to 850. And I was
For
speeding
traction issues.
For traction, I ended up pulling an all-nighter. We dynoed it that night, and I didn't sleep, and then I ran the one up at Coalinga, whatever, 3-4 hours from LA.
Yeah.
And so I was already out. I didn't need to push myself further mentally, and so I got into the 180s with that. But I think the 3-rotor could easily get to 190, and with a lot of preparation could get to 200. Instead, to be the first rotor that does 200 miles an hour with an all-wheel drive, basically cheating in my mind. That's unfair.
Yeah.
That's a shakedown for that car. So hit 200 miles an hour in the half mile. So set a really clear
Message. Yeah.
yeah, just like I'm gonna step on all of y'all.
Yeah, and with,
As a warm up. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a warm, I'm gonna sit on you.
and so that way I'm also not doing. I mean, 200 is nuts, but I'm not
It
doing.
is.
That's fast.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then jumping to try and aim for the stars at 300. Like, anything above 200, I can't even fathom.
I and 200 is literally the most
That's
I've ever done.
That's like scary shit. That's
Yeah.
like
Really fast.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what the steering wheel must. I don't even
worse
know,
than
dude.
That, the 242 that I have to beat is on the salt flats. You're on essentially sand.
Yeah, I was gonna say. It's.
Yeah.
I just hope that like picture delivers to people listening.
Yeah.
To imagine like I don't know, just fuck, man, that's gnarly.
And the important part about it, that's all straight line stuff. So because I've got so many things radically different on the suspension, I can promise you right now, if I go to drive that car, it will perform poorly. Like it's not going to break any Nürburgring records, nothing like that. It's not even going to get close. It's going to take a lot of tuning to get that car to turn. Now, that suspension, the way that the camber is set up, the way that the control arms are long and beautiful, you should see the center of mass. That car, I'm going to take the RX7 off of the body because it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the whole car is like under 10 inches. Like the engine is like the tallest thing. All the suspension and everything is low to the ground. And so, cornering, that thing's going to be on rails. So, but that's going to take a lot of fine tuning to do. So do the straight line stuff first. Tune the car that little bit to help launching. And of course, you're using your suspension to help
Mitigate.
Thank you. Help mitigate that power transfer. So that way you keep it, the suspension compressed, and then you kind of let it out as you're going. There's a trick obviously to drag racing and launching with power. And so that's going to be some tuning involved. But then get into the side-to-side stuff. Because there was a fan or a follower on Instagram that said it best, is that I'm basically trying to make a daily driven race car. That this thing
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, is just that making this balanced, insane vehicle, if that's possible.
Yeah, my question was going to be, how drivable did you plan for this to be? Because those land speed breaking records are on cars with aluminum wheels and rockets strapped to it. So you can't really do anything with that kind of thing.
Yeah. So
but yours looks pretty normal.
Yes. So
I mean, normal for what that fucking custom wide body.
I mean,
right. But but you're right. If you look at that real quick, you can say it's an RX7.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was I've gotten into so many arguments with people involved in the project where I'm like, I am not going to compromise the look of the car. I'm not going to take the stock FD door panels out. The stock FD dashboard stays. I want a full interior. I want an RX-7.
Nice. AC question mark.
So that's been a pain in the a variety of body parts.
Yeah.
Because I won't compromise on that. I want this to be
cool.
a car. And so some things I can speak to that I know for a fact. The transmission is a sequential 6-speed dog ring engaged transmission. What that means is there's no synchros in it. Mm-hmm. So when you change gears, it's in
I was going to say, that thing on the streets is going to be a fucking headache. It's going to be so aggressive.
And combine that with the fact that I have a super light flywheel. So the only thing going for me The only thing going for me is that the engine is so big. Because a 2-rotor, a rotating mass, if you had a really light and flywheel on your RX7, it would be, you would kill the car on accident just trying to
Putting
put
your
it
clutch
in.
in,
Yeah.
And so even the 3-rotor has some difficulty at time. But a 4-rotor, I hope the rotating mass, kind of like the Diablo. The Diablo is my easiest manual car to drive by far. Because you can literally just slowly let the clutch out and the car starts moving.
I've driven it.
Yeah.
Then, if you're thinking of that, I have a little bit of a physics question. So, will one more rotor really add that much more mass? How does it scale? Is it exponential? Is it?
Well, there are some things that don't increase it that much more. For example, I'll tell you the simplest thing is my 3-rotor, we'll say, is X inches long. I forget. That includes a very fat iron on there. The 4-rotor design is so compact that it uses all thin irons between the rotors, so it ends up only being like 3.5 inches longer than a 3-rotor.
Weird.
Yeah, it's really much smaller footprint than you'd expect.
Yeah.
And so that's not rotating mass, but that is definitely the outside look at it. You're like, oh my god, that is actually a much smaller footprint. The extra rotor, obviously, the extra rotor and the extra length on the eccentric shaft. That eccentric shaft is a piece of meat. That is.
I was gonna say, I think
Is it
that's
heavy?
huge.
Yeah, it is actually pretty heavy.
Nice.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is some additional, but it's not exponentially more. It's definitely incrementally.
Okay.
That flywheel though, that flywheel is gonna make or break my daily the street drivability.
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
absolutely.
I mean, I still have a clutch, right, for first gear, but then after first gear, you don't clutch.
Yeah, you just
You
bang
just
in.
Yeah, those dog.
Bang,
There's like
bang.
6 dog teeth. It's 6'5".
I thought it was
there.
4.
I'll have to look back at the video. I
Yeah.
I did a video with Hollinger on it.
Oh, I see.
But I haven't released it yet because I didn't want to release it until the car started getting to where it's at now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So
Sure,
saving
absolutely.
up that good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, say it's 4. It could be. Those teeth just literally clink when they touch. They're just little.
They're just gonna
Yeah.
slam into each other.
Mhm. So that's gonna be pretty violent.
Yeah. Oh man,
Now, one thing that is positive is that the center diff or the R32 transfer case can adjust. It's got a fluid clutch sort of system in there, so it can adjust on the fly how much power goes to the front wheels. So you can
electronically or mechanically
control.
Whoa.
Well, internally it's mechanically, yes,
Yeah.
but you electronically control it. It's called a TESA, and so you can have an aftermarket system based on wheel slip and all that. Control how much power goes to the front.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Oh, that.
yeah.
That's
And then you can
hectic.
turn it off and just do mad burnouts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Well, I want to turn it on. 50-50 torque distribution.
And
That would be
And then
gnarly.
just you watch any
Four-wheel
video of the
peel?
unicorn. I've watched it
Yeah,
probably 10 times.
yeah.
And just watching it go from nothing to just
So
all
just
full.
lighting them up, and it's like,
It's just-
wow.
My jaw drops every time.
Yeah. It's like it's on ice. It's just like,
yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Now, there are some things that I don't have in the car right now that are, the plan is incremental improvements.
Yes, of course.
So the idea is to do the core all-wheel drive 4-rotor. That's when people say it's an all-wheel drive 4-rotor. I'm going to deliver an all-wheel drive 4-rotor.
Yeah.
But there are some things that are I'm hoping similar to looking up to you guys for what you've done. Is kind of use that to incrementally improve the car and do things that polish it that much more. So for example, this is kind of it's a secret. It's an open secret. If you don't know what you're looking for, you don't see it.
Okay.
So the Unicorn, if you watch Gymkhana 7, which is what I already knew I was going to go all-wheel drive with the car before that video dropped. But when I saw it, I instantly, the moment I watched in slow motion as all 4 tires just roast in the middle of that warehouse, I'm like, those guys have my solution. And I've reached out to them because of that video. Now, when you watch him drift around a corner with that car, you'll see him pull the e-brake. And, of course, like any e-brake, it locks up the rear tires. But it's an all-wheel drive car. So
I was just going to ask about that.
So they did a little trick. If you look, there's a Speed Hunters article about the car, and they show just a handful of CAD drawings. They're isometric CAD drawings, and this is how I reverse engineered a lot of the car. Is there is a thing called a decoupler on the rear drive shaft, and so what happens is when Ken Block grabs that e-brake, the e-brake not only locks up the rear, emergency brake calipers, but it also decouples the drive shaft from the rear of the car.
So it's
So it has a dog ring on it or something?
Basically a fat, basically inside the decoupler would be a dog. And so what happens is he's still in the throttle, pulls the rear wheels. They're now locked up to some extent, controllably, but they are decoupled from the powertrain. So when he drifts it, this is now basically a front wheel drive car dragging
the locked up rear. What the fuck?
That's cool.
And you wouldn't know it, but
that.
Exactly. So you know, it just looks magical in the video, but when you realize what he's doing, you're like, oh my god, that he's got skills. I'm not questioning that, but your machine, that tool that he's using, has some advanced.
It's godlike, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's got some things at his disposal that really
like make a blind person drive good.
Yeah. So that's something where I do want to incorporate that. I'm not going to drift the car. I mean, it could drift in 5 seconds, in not in traditional drifting, you know, not in the sort of stuff that you guys do.
But like you can easily just light them up and go. Yeah, no question.
And you know, that's the theatrics of that is just beautiful. So there's things like that I want to add. That's scope creep. That's stuff that I don't want to do now. I've literally got my, like, for example, the company I'm working with right now, they're called Sano Industries. And by the way, that's not sponsored. I'm paying full price.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm paying full price.
Yeah.
But they're doing a good job. They work with Dai Yoshihara as their drift team, and so that's been a good, intelligent relationship from there. But this phase of the car is to finish the all-wheel drive aspect of the drivetrain. Finish that, and then so nothing else. I want stub axles. I want drive shafts. I want engine. That it could be the 4-rotor, it could be any engine, transmission, and so on. I want all of that operational. And so that's current phase, because there's a video of the Unicorn, for example, out doing like kind of shakedowns.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a cool way to get the world excited if they maybe ended up seeing that sometime really soon.
Man.
Can we expect anything at SEMA this year regarding it?
This will be the first time I'll say this publicly. I was going to drop some bombs for SEMA. Unfortunately, my winters, that quick change rear diff, I'll be honest, they boned me hard. They put the wrong flange on it, and you can see it in my videos. I didn't pick up on this, but the flange is for a certain type of joint. And when you look at the pictures I was showing you, that joint is like much, much bigger. And so I could get the car to running point and show it off around SEMA time, but then I'd be making custom axles, and I'd be spending a lot of money just to
show it,
just to flex.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the opposite direction.
So I was gonna do some crazy things to bring it to SEMA, but at this point, it would actually be detrimental.
Yeah.
So that's me speaking very calmly. That was last 2 weeks of just pure
smacking your head against the wall trying to figure it out.
You know, the people that are involved in the project are doing a great job, but and like I said, I'm paying full price.
Yeah.
And so I that way I can complain if I'm not getting what I want. I'm getting what I want, but they had some hang-ups on getting it done in time.
Okay.
And
it's
so
always frustrating.
Yeah. You know with your projects.
Oh, I know how it is.
You know, you got video deadlines, and I'm finally on that level of, okay, I need daily content.
Yeah.
I have daily content, but I'm not gonna recycle.
Yeah, it sucks when, like, especially like you said, you're paying full price. They tell you this is the day it will be done, and I think the outside world looks at it like stop complaining, whatever. But it's like when you're a creator, you're like, okay, this day, it's like every day is so thought out. And delivering that content is so much harder than I think people realize. And then when somebody that's like, oh, we fucked up, and you're like, well, how long is it gonna be? They're like, oh, 2 weeks. It's like it fucks everything up. And then you're like,
hard.
Your whole schedule, it's like the daily content, and that's people get so mad. They're like, stop putting filler content. It's like, bro, I can't just be dropping like $1 million content every day. It just doesn't exist.
It can't.
As much as you want it to, you can't. And
that has been a heartache. And really, like I was saying off camera, I want to make sure that I'm not just making just build videos. I need to show people I lock in a level of proof.
Yeah.
You know, and so this does set me back, because that was, as I say, for SEMA, I was going to have the all-wheel drive chassis proven, but that got delayed. But this isn't like the memes, literally memes of the 4-rotor of where's the 4-rotor, which I loved.
Those are great videos.
But I was also behind the scene. I was under the gun, and it wasn't my hang up. You know, initially 6 months, first 6 months after SEMA, I was licking my wounds because that cost me way more than I thought, and I had people I had companies promising me so much, and none of that came through. Now that I could blame myself, but I don't regret what I did here now. But I had to be financially responsible and pause and regroup, and I was going to sell the 3-rotor and do all that.
But you didn't.
But I didn't.
Nice.
And I mean, if the right situation came up, I would. But you know, that was something where now I've had money out, several $1,000s out for projects that have not, tasks, machine work that hasn't been done since last August. Not August 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
Like last year.
August. And so why has the engine not been built? That's why, not me. And that kills me, because I was originally, my goal was early summer, before summer, was to have the 4-rotor block dynoed outside of the car, and then the rush that would come from that, naturally come from that, would help fund the rest of the build. That you know, like that, I would be on a nice roller. Yeah. And that didn't happen. So.
But the spider memes came through.
But the
spider
memes saved my ass.
Memes.
That was great. I was so concerned about your car when you were doing that, and then I left you just blatantly address it. You're like, I don't remember exactly what you said. We were sitting right here and we watched the video.
Yeah, and when you started spraying underneath like the rear end of the car, I was like,
oh, the gas tank's right there.
Probably a bad idea, Rob.
I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna show on camera what looks plausible. But if I get close to fuel lines, now I look stupid. I'm not saying that off camera I did spray it near fuel lines, but you know the worst part about all this, you want to know that I'm a tease, I'm a fraud. I did that. I only did that side. I only did that side of the car. Okay, what you see on camera, I gave up after that. I imply that I finish the job. Yeah. What happens the next day? Fucking Black Widows out, sit on my car, basically going like, "Hey, you missed me."
Jeez.
So I had to kill that one, but I killed that one straight up with the torch itself.
Nice.
I
up close.
I didn't want to do that on camera because
that's bad. Not a good idea.
But emotionally, I finished the job. So I haven't seen any Black Widows over the last 2 weeks.
Good man. Yeah. I want some Black Widows in my car.
Yeah.
Nope. I want some memes.
I have a lot of what do I call them? What I call
Daddy
them?
long legs?
No. Residents. I have a lot of residents in my 240. Don't know where they are, but they're chilling.
Yeah, he's got some living things.
Just spiders, or
I don't know.
Did we find a rat's nest in there in the bay? What car was that?
No,
that was the BRZ.
My BRZ. Yeah. My BRZ. I go into my. No, I'm taking apart my interior, and I'm like, I smell meat. Why do I smell meat? It smells terrible. I open my hood, and there's just a little dead guy right there on my battery. I'm like, oh, good on you, mate.
Cooked himself on the battery.
Yeah.
Dead boy.
Rip. Smelt like meat.
Medium rare or
probably
pretty
a little
singed.
Past due.
Yeah, a little singed.
A little burnt, a little past
jerky.
Due. Well done.
Jerky.
I'm just trying to figure out, could you eat it? That's all I care about.
No. I mean,
I'm a desperate man.
Nah, you couldn't. You would have gotten sick for sure. For sure would have gotten sick.
Oh.
Man.
Damn, that was deep in the 4-rotor.
No,
yeah.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
That's
I know,
like,
because you text me every so often asking some seriously engaging questions, and I love it because
it's a very Calvin thing.
Yeah, because I follow channels like Engineering Explained, or is that no, not Engineering Explained.
No, I don't follow Jason.
Yeah, fuck Jason.
No, I do like his videos when he explains car stuff, but more like civil engine. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, the one where you're building huts out in the middle.
Nah,
dude, primitive technology. What the fuck is that channel?
That's a good channel.
They just
no, civil engineering, infrastructure, that kind of stuff. And when they talk about a concept in physics, and I'm like, I think about the things that I've talked about with people, and Rob comes up a lot in my head because there's a lot of hurdles. Like there's like. Like today he talked about all of the things he's designing and how they're going to interact with each other, but at the end there's clear numbers that you could put on a piece of paper and theoretically come up with a hypothesis, right? But not until a whole bunch of testing. That's why F1 teams have like whole departments thinking about just aero.
They have people working. They have names for specific vortexes of air spinning past certain diffuser pieces. Like they're like R33 or whatever, something 33 or 36. That, and everybody's like, oh yeah, the 36. You know? And it's a specific vortex of air that they're like, okay, well we're gonna take this and channel it. It's like that's some serious shit.
Yeah.
Now that's what I want to do to kind of button off the four rotor because I could talk forever.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Aero.
Yes.
Are you gonna? So the car is gonna be pretty light, right?
Well,
so effective weight. How are you gonna deal with its lightness?
Very first goal is to get 50-50 weight distribution, side to side, front to back.
With ballasts,
ballasts
or with
lead.
Okay.
My sweet fat ass.
50-50 sideways.
Yeah, that's right. So the goal is 50-50 every way because I want to honor the Japanese refined, disciplined approach to that car. Will that help in the long run? I don't know, but so the goal is that will add. You can only add weight in this particular situation to bring it to that. And so I'm assuming I'm gonna be putting some lead, especially the battery itself, in a place that is strategic for the weight of the car.
Absolutely.
Yes, I've got a lot of carbon fiber being put into the vehicle. But the core tube chassis is raw chromoly steel, overly built, don't twist the chassis sort of stuff. So there's some weight to it. I don't know how much yet.
Okay.
And the drivetrain itself looks like a
it
BFG out of like
looks like a tank.
It's nuts. So there's weight, but the body is definitely going to be. We're going to finish the current body, the silver one that you see. That's going to get peeled back, rebondoed further, build the fenders out further for the clearance of the wider tires, and the 3 inches of shock and 3 inches of rebound. So that way, yeah. So there's a lot of travel on those tires, and I want to make sure that I can do that.
Yeah.
Once that's finished, I've got a company making all the carbon fiber molds for the entire body, so it'll be a carbon fiber vehicle. But think of here's what I always picture. Think of it like buying a normal Viper GT or GS or whatever GTS versus the ACR. The ACR, I've got a buddy who had like kind of an anecdotal.
ACR is the what?
The wild one with the massive wing and the front canards.
Oh, I know. I remember that from Gran Turismo 3. Got it.
There you go. That's where you pull it from. And so I have a buddy who had an anecdotal story about he was trailering his ACR and he got horrible gas mileage because the downforce on that car on the trailer was killing the car and creating a lot of drag. And so I imagine that's what you'll see, like the normal Viper version of my car, and then you'll see the ACR version, which will be the car
like extra aero, big wing.
I see. Chassis mount.
Exactly.
Chassis mount.
So right now, my aero, all that matters is splitter, flat body, diffuser.
Okay. So
slipstream. You want to minimize the amount of drag inducing downforce. You want to maximize just your downforce, but not
drag inducing.
The drag inducing.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a missile.
Don't build a plane.
Right.
That's bad.
That is bad.
Planes are bad on cars, or speedboat memes. If you guys know what that is. Do you know speedboat? Have you seen like
people die on speedboats?
No,
that one girl flip and it's recording.
No. Okay, so the most dangerous world record is the fastest water speed.
Yeah.
They just take off.
Try to attempt the records because they're so dangerous.
You watch these videos and the boat just hits that one bump and whoop, and they fly, and then they rip a Reno.
Yeah,
dangerous. Don't make a plane, Rob.
Yeah, no, inverted plane when that goes down. So
scary.
Yeah, and just to kind of conclude the aero talk, I built this car to be in the unlimited class. This is not a car that
unlimited
fits
class.
Any
Define
class.
that for me.
What's that?
Oh, okay. He was about to. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, for example, a drift car to compete in any level of drifting, you have to maintain suspension mounts, chassis.
Yeah.
This has none of that, and so full tube chassis. It'll be certifiable like SFI, all that sort of stuff, so I can run it at events. But I can't compete in any class of thing.
Oh, it's the unlimited
disqualified.
class.
It's unlimited.
I see.
And so that means, to me, that fits my personality more than anything, is because either I'm not competitive and I just have fun and I do horrible.
Nice.
Or I get ultra competitive and obsess and then still do horrible. But in this case, when I'm in my own class, I'm creating entertainment, not so much competition.
Sure.
And so that's my goal with that, is that I know that I'm not the best
goal.
at certain things. You know, I could be with some practice. You know, I want to believe that in my heart. But, you know, I'm not the best driver. But I want to have one of the best cars. And
put someone good in it.
Sick.
Okay, so that's...
Wow.
Okay, do we have time to tell one more story?
Don't spoil his memes, Cal.
No, I'm just thinking things.
Yeah.
Because the natural progression of making a really good tool is to give the tool to someone that knows how to use it.
To an artist.
It's an artist.
Yeah.
That'd be a great idea.
So, yeah, if you could imagine, and I'll just give this top-level hint to that. If you could imagine people that either hold records or are renowned for their realm of motorsports, particularly maybe on related to rotary, but not necessarily. But imagine each of them getting into the vehicle that was balanced enough, but still competitive in their field. That'd be a pretty entertaining video.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna say too much if I say it.
So
I see what you're.
Imagine that as an end goal.
I see what you're putting in my head.
Yep.
I'm liking it. Smells good.
Yeah.
Smells good.
I'll tell you more of the details off camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Hectic.
Huge podcast. I
Thank you for Rob for coming down again.
Yeah.
thoroughly
Oh,
enjoyed it.
absolutely.
Thank
Thanks for
you
having me,
so much, Rob. I know we did this, but then I said Aero, but huge. If you want to follow Rob on any of his social medias, and especially YouTube, follow this build. This build is absolutely crazy, not only because it's a crazy car, but there's crazy thought behind it. If you're into that kind of thing, like me, could text him a lot or enough.
We'll give Rob's number down below too, so you can text him anytime
I'll
you have
text
questions.
Rob.
999.
Yeah, the booty call hotline.
That's right. It's completely open. It's a little too open right now.
Nice, man.
Okay,
Nice,
thank you so
man.
much for watching, everyone.
We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.